Hello and welcome. Where in the world are you? I am in Warwick, Queensland, Australia. I'm Julie Lewin. I've been a medical intuitive for 41 years. Can you believe that? And I have created all of these decks of cards. So these cards are the Magic Not Logic cards. My daughter Ash did the artwork, and she did the design, and together we created the clearing of limiting beliefs and the activation of the new frequency. So these are frequency cards, so I'll be using those. These are my first deck of cards that I created. I started designing these, I think, in 2006, and I finally published the first version in 2013. Because we didn't have the resources back then that we have today. But I did all the artwork. So the artwork is fractal art, and there's a system to this. Oh, they're all upside down. There's a system. I work with the 7 bodies: physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, auric, energetic, and etheric. So I decided to design a deck of cards that related to each of the bodies. And I've assigned a color from the chakras, the 7 colors, to each body. And then I decided to assign 7 qualities or characteristics of each of the bodies. So we've created a 56 card deck. And I wrote a book that goes with that. And I'm in the process of recording all of these cards, and there's a bit of wisdom, and then there's an exercise. So I'm in the process of recording all of that and putting it in the members area on Insight Timer. I wrote a book called The Art of Self-Healing. It's got 66 techniques in it. So in 2023, I painted a card for each technique. And so this is the original. These are my original paintings. We haven't manufactured these yet, but I thought I'm just going to use them. So here we go. And I knock 3 times to clear the energy from the last reading that I did. And I'm choosing the Art of Self-Healing for you. Okay, so this is the one that flipped over. It's called Emotion Journal. So okay, so the importance of the emotion journal is to reflect. I have so many recommendations for journals. I forget which one is what. Okay, write down what you've learned. So do you have an emotion journal where you track your emotions and what patterns you notice about yourself and what you learn through the different emotions that come up? This is what Tash and I talk about, that when we take note of how our emotions are affecting us, that's going to give us an indication of the pattern of what happens when an emotion comes up. The first thing that I want to ask is, when you are feeling an emotion, whether it's a good one or a bad one, but generally if it's a confronting or challenging emotion, check in and ask your body, does this even belong to me? And if it doesn't, say, I bless you, I release you, I return to sender. And what's going to happen is that emotion is actually going to dissolve. So you don't have to own every emotion. And I would keep a note of that. Say, I was feeling this emotion, and I checked in with my body and it didn't feel like it belonged to me, so I blessed it, released it, and returned it to sender. And this is what happened. Oh, I've got goosebumps. This is what's important for you. We respond to bodies of evidence. And so what's going to happen if you start tracking how your emotions are revealing things to you, revealing patterns, revealing whether the emotion even belongs to you, and you're going to get a body of evidence of what happens when it doesn't belong to you. And then that gives you the confidence to say, you know what, that's not mine, or return it to sender. And when it is yours, track how you respond. Now, one of the things, and I don't even know if this relates to you, but I share what I download in the moment. I choose not to eat gluten because I have had an autoimmune condition called Hashimoto's, and by not eating gluten, that supports my body to function better. I just got a flash of when people who eat gluten and they have a sensitivity to it, and sometimes they don't even realize, in a half an hour it can plunge you from being above the line of, I call it the amnesia line. So it can plunge you from being, you know, I'm coping all right, I'm going fine, to being below the line and feeling depressed, or you can't function, you got brain fog, you don't have any enthusiasm for anything. Gluten can do that for people. So when something shifts in my emotional state, I go back and I look at, what have I eaten? What is happening in the weather? Are there volcanoes erupting? Are there earthquakes happening? I check what's happening in the environment. I've got goosebumps, so this is important for someone. And then I go, oh, okay, that explains that. And so if it's something that you've eaten or something that you've done, then you'll know if you do that again, that may be what's behind the shift or the change in how you're feeling. So that's why I recommend emotion journals. I hope that is helpful. If your emotional state shifts suddenly, I would go, what have I eaten? And then be really gluten clean. And it may take a few days for you to get through that. But once you're gluten clean again, your energy will come back up and you'll be back on track. Does that make sense? Yeah. Look, sometimes I eat gluten and I'm making a conscious decision about it, but I have to pay the price. And sometimes I'm willing to pay the price. I'm going with the Magic Not Logic cards. Oh, what's that one? That needs to be turned around. Here we go. The clearing is, how can I rest when there is so much to do? And the activation is, when I rest, the universe puts pieces of the puzzle together and I allow myself to flow with the unfolding and I let go of the hustle. With these cards, because we're operating under the principle of Masaru Emoto, and Masaru Emoto is the Japanese scientist who discovered that words and thoughts and emotions can change the frequency of water. And so we recommend that people put a photo of the card under a glass of water, let it be infused, and the activation, you can then drink the water and the activation will be in the cells in your body. So the activation is, when I rest, the universe puts pieces of the puzzle together. I allow myself to flow with the unfolding and I let go of the hustle. So what this is saying to me is that there may be something that you're bringing to the world that you're wanting to achieve, like a project, that it's not quite flowing for you, but you're feeling an internal pressure about it. So what I'm getting is that you go and do something completely away from that project or that thing that you want to achieve, that's enjoyable, that's something that you've been putting off, something that you might say, I'll reward myself with that after I achieve this goal or this result. I'm going to suggest that you go and take a little break, have a rest, go and do something that's not related, and that's going to let the universe put the tapestry threads together and put things in place. And then when you come back to it after half a day, 2 days, however much time you need down, it's all just going to go like that. It's just going to flow. And I'm feeling that it's important for you to rest and do something enjoyable, and that's going to make the difference. And I really feel like if you could put that under your water, that's going to make a difference for you. About 6 or 8 weeks ago, I started this prayer where before I went to sleep, I would say, tomorrow I am going to experience something amazing. And then through chit-chatting in the group, somebody wrote, tomorrow I'm going to experience something miraculously magical and amazing. They were the words. And I'm going to suggest that you do. If you feel like you can't rest, say something along those lines. And then in the morning, when you wake up, you say, today I'm going to experience something magical and amazing. Do you want me to share a story that is absolutely wild? I taught this to one of my ongoing coaching clients. She's been with me for many years. And I taught her this, and we had our call recently. She just told me all these stories. And I said, that is incredible. What an incredible 2 weeks. She said, yeah, I'm doing that thing that you said. So I did it last night and this morning. Now, I have to say, in the last few months, and I couldn't tell you which month, I was thinking, you know what? I would really like a new Bible. Now, I have to be transparent here. I don't go to a particular church. I do believe in God. I do believe in Jesus. I love both. I live by the 10 Commandments. Like, they're coded into me. But I still had my Bible from 55 years ago when I was in high school. And the writing is so small, and, you know, even with my multifocals, I still struggled to read it. And so I thought I'd really like a new Bible that had bigger writing and it was easier to read. But I also was more specific. I wanted a Bible that had lessons in it so that I could actually understand what was in there. That was my thought many months ago. And I did the saying last night. I did it this morning. And I just made my coffee and I heard this little tap on the door. And I thought, did somebody just knock on the door? Put my coffee down, opened the door, and there was a lady there, solo lady. And I said, hello. And she said, how are you going? And what's happened? Like, we had massive, massive weather on the weekend here. And we had hailstones, like, I don't know if you can see that. About that big were the hailstones on our property. But there were way worse ones within 30 minutes of us. So she talked about the weather for a little bit. And then she said, and that's why I'm here. I'm wanting to check that, see how you're going with all the chaos in the world. And she asked if I had faith. And I said, yes, I do. I love God. I love Jesus. And I said, I believe everything is in divine order, and that if you want something new to come through, you've got to collapse the old. And she said, it's so refreshing to talk to somebody who has faith and who has that belief. And I said, well, that's what keeps me feeling peaceful. I've got goosebumps and the clock's going off. So then she had a bag and she said, I'd like to gift you a book. And I said, oh, thank you. And she pulled out a few books and I said, look, to be honest, I won't be able to read those because of the paper color and the smallness of the print. And the other thing that I haven't shared is I have had a real experience of revelations, and I'll tell that on another day. But the relevance is that it's a significant moment for me when I was having a moment in 1994, and I just said, God, please help me. And when I stood up, there was a little Bible on the floor beside my bed that wasn't there. Like, we didn't own that little Bible. And when I opened it, it said, I'm the first and the last, the Alpha and the Omega. So Revelations, that's 1:8, is very significant. She gave me this book, and it's all about Revelations, all decoded. And I said, yes, I will read that. But guess what else? She said, do you have a Bible? I said, well, I've wanted a new one. She gave me a new Bible. Isn't that just extraordinary? But not only did she give me a new Bible, but it had lessons in the back. I'm just blown away. Like, that was me receiving something miraculously magical and amazing today. And yes, that's it. A new Bible and a book about Revelations. No one, I had not shared those two things with anyone in the world. That was my miracle, that I got given the information that I had asked for today. And I feel so blessed to be able to share that with you. So that's my story. What is the message today? Okay. They usually fly out. Oh. Okay. That one dropped out and I didn't even realize. The psychological card is part of the emotional body, and it says being influenced by your emotions. So this is saying to me that you're being influenced by your emotions right now. So this is what's written here, and then I'll come back and I'll dig a bit deeper. Ooh, be aware that you hold the power to determine who you are, how you feel, and how you see your world. And consider the influences in your life right now. Sometimes it is a positive step to be influenced by them. And sometimes allowing you to be influenced by another can have negative consequences. It's your choice. Step into your highest potential and be guided by positive mentors and role models. It is wise to consider what influences you through observation rather than through emotional reactivity. And this is where a good mentor is an invaluable asset to your growth and development. The exercise is, find yourself a good mentor from outside your field of work, someone with a different point of view to you. This is a good quality. They will challenge your way of thinking, but will raise you up to higher levels of potential. Choose your mentor carefully. You need to consider your values and their values. Are they a match? Their mentoring style. Do you respond better to nurturing and encouragement, or do you prefer kick-ass, being held accountable mentors? Remember, it is what works best for you. Have realistic expectations of yourself and your mentor. So, this card I don't think has come up in the entire year. So I'm really glad that this card has come up. So here's the thing. This exercise is going to help you be clear on what works for you. I'm not good with being held accountable. I need to be nurtured and supported. So I'm going to give you an example of having a mentor, and it was to actually write my book. And I was struggling with that. And my mentor was a male, and he said to me, Julie, what's going to happen if you die before you get this book written? Now, he thought that was going to motivate me to get the book written. But what it actually did was it paralyzed me. And so I actually couldn't do anything. I couldn't take any action. And so I had to put my big girl pants on and ring him and say, you know what? Your style of mentoring doesn't, like, that was just one incident. there were many things like that. And I said, it just doesn't work for me. I'm actually getting less work done through your style of mentoring than if I was just helping myself navigate through this journey. And bless his cotton socks, he understood and he released me from my contract. But that's why and see, I didn't know what my style of mentoring that I needed was. And so that's something that will be really helpful for you to decode or get an understanding of. But it's also really good for you to understand if your values and their values are a match. So it's not out of the ballpark to ask what their core values are and then see if they're a match for yours. Does that make sense? The other thing that I'm getting for you is also to keep that emotion journal that I talked about earlier. I think that that's going to be helpful for you as well. But the main thing that's come for me is that you're really clear on what your core values are and the core values of any mentor that mentors you, and are they a match? Now, they could have a different philosophy, but those core values are important. So I hope that is helpful. And it may be that it's time to get a new mentor, or it may be to help you become the observer above your emotions and see what the bigger picture is when you step up above your emotions of whatever's going on right now in your world. Is that helpful for you? Yeah, be the observer. So that's got me to talk about another thing that I'm just going to write on a little piece of paper. Has everyone heard about the drama triangle? I'm just going to write it here on a bit of paper. So Cartman created the drama triangle, and he's the guy that created the 12 steps for Alcoholics Anonymous, and this is the drama triangle. And I've done something a little bit more with the drama triangle. And so we have here, we have the victim, we have the rescuer, and we have the persecutor. So when you're feeling like you're in it, in the emotion of it, how do you get to be the observer? So you get to be I've got goosebumps, so guys, this is important. You get to become the observer by identifying your role in the drama. And there's no shame or blame or any of those things. It's just, what is your role? What role are you playing? And you can play multiple of these roles. But once you identify the role that you are playing right in that moment, you immediately become the observer. And when you become the observer, you then can become the creator of what happens next. Because you're not down in the drama of the triangle, you're up here, and you can make a decision or a choice that's not caught up in the drama. Now, I taught this to somebody at a market. We were selling turkey, would you believe, at a market. And people just tell me stuff. It's one of those things in life, right? I'd never met this woman before, and she told me all about how her divorce was going and that they couldn't do property settlement. And it was years in the making. They still hadn't settled property. And I said, okay, give me a call and I'll share something with you. And I shared this. It took me 10 minutes. And I said, now have a think about where you are on there. Have a think about your ex-husband and where he is on there. And think about how you can navigate the next mediation so that all of you can walk away happy. She rang me and she said, Julie, that helped me more in the last 20 years than all the therapy that I've done and all the mediation that we've done. We were able to sign off on property settlement because she realized that she was being the persecutor and he was being the victim. And all he wanted was his stuff and she wouldn't let him have it. So that story just came in. I'm not sure why I shared that, but that's how you get to be. So she became the observer, and then she was able to be the creator of moving forward with her life, and it worked out. So that's just an example of how that works. So just in case you haven't written that down, you can either Google drama triangle, but it's victim, persecutor, rescuer, and then when you identify that, you can become the observer.